This is the plaintiff, James. He says he hired the defendant to videotape his daughter's wedding, and since it was canceled due to the pandemic, he had to reschedule it. The sneaky defendant tried to raise his price by 20% for the rescheduled wedding, and that is simply outrageous. So he's suing for the return of the $4,800 he's now owed. This is the defendant, Mike Henricks. He says he's been in the wedding business for 20 years, and he has every right to raise his prices to follow the cost of living increases he's incurred. Bottom line, the plaintiff terminated the contract, and he owes nothing. He's accused of causing the wedding blues. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $3,495, the balance due on the contract.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff hired the defendant to videotape his daughter's wedding and says at the last minute, the guy tried to hike the price by 20% and he's not having it. The defendant is saying, hey, that was a year ago that they agreed on a price. There was a pandemic in between and he had every right to do what he did. It's the case of Wedding Bell Blues.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. James, you are suing for $4,800. Your damages are actually a $1,600 deposit, but because you feel that that this defendant engaged in unfair and deceptive practices, you are tripling that under the treble damage clause in your state. You have counterclaimed against him, Mr. Enriquez, for the balance of the contract because your position is that you've remained ready, willing, and able to comply with the contract. Let's talk, Mr. James. You hired the defendant to do what?
To be the videographer at my daughter's wedding.
And a funny thing happened on the way to the wedding, and that's the pandemic.
You're right, Your Honor. The first case of COVID was in the United States in February. And in March, the World Health Organization declared a worldwide pandemic.
I know, I was there. I've suffered this as much as anybody else. But So tell me what happens. When did your daughter and your family finally decide this isn't going to happen? What month?
Well, what happened, Your Honor, was we were told by the wedding venue, we were having it at Rosecliff in Newport, Rhode Island, that the governor had come out with mandate and restrictions, and they suggested that we cancel everything because they couldn't guarantee. At that point in time, the maximum capacity was 100 people. Our wedding was supposed to have 265 people at the wedding, so it would have been a challenge to go from 265 to 100. So I met with my daughter, my wife, and my future son-in-law. We discussed, if they wanted to take a chance or not, and they said it just isn't worth taking a chance. We have parents and grandparents who live in Florida, and to try and have them fly to Newport, Rhode Island in a situation that was, very health hazardous, obviously. It would be, if someone went to a wedding and then they died, how do you ever forgive yourself from something like that? So
well,
we had to tell,
and maybe they just don't come. So if they don't come,
right,
that's ruined the wedding too. So just tell me when you called it. You called it in July?
June 26th. And we called approximately 15 vendors at that time. We told every one of them that we were going to postpone the wedding, and they all moved it for the same price. And we signed new contracts, and everyone was great to deal with, except Mike's company, Artistic Wedding Films. When I spoke with him, he told me that the pricing was going to be raised 5%, which I wasn't happy about, but I told him to send me the contracts. And then when I received the contracts were increased to 20%. I said, look, I think 20% is outrageous. And I said, I think that you're taking advantage of a pandemic and you have my deposit. And for you to have my deposit and say, basically, you have three options. Go forward with the wedding, which I'm able to do, or you can pay me 20% more and I will do the wedding next year, or I will keep your deposit and you can cancel whatever you want to cancel. Those are my three options. Well, having the wedding was not an option. Going forward at 20%, I felt he was unethical, not honorable, and price gouging. Nobody has a 20% price increase, especially during a COVID pandemic. I thought he was a very unethical businessman, Your Honor.
I have a recording of a message that you left for him, and I wanted to play it.
Yeah, hello, Dee. This is got your email. I will not pay 20%. I'll go to court before I do anything like that. I want my refund. I'll get another videographer. This is going to be a bad situation. So if you want to talk to me, give me a call. Goodbye.
Okay, let me hear from you, Mr. Enriquez.
So this process for us started in early January. In speaking with them, we discussed our services and so on, as we typically do with any couple. We speak to Jim, and he says, love your work. Couple wants to move forward, but let's talk price. And so, he asks for a number of upgrades at no extra charge. We said, you know what? Glad to work with you a bit here. We're working with a great team. We love the venue. We'll give you that 27% discount, roughly $1,895 of additional services.
What was the size of the deposit? It was a $1,600 deposit, correct?
Correct. Yes, Your Honor. So
All right.
we move forward.
So then the pandemic hits and the world changes and bad things are happening everywhere and everybody's hoping that it'll be over soon. And I understand that a businessman in your position would like to make up for lost time. But how does he get a contract that says a 20% increase?
So shortly after the pandemic hit, his daughter and future son-in-law reach out and say, hey, we have a pandemic, which we were well aware of. And I said, we will do the best we can for you. We don't know what's going to happen. Right now, we are knee deep in trying to console and work with our clients that are closer to having their events. We're trying to make arrangements, already rescheduling contracts, which we were amicable to do.
But that's neither here nor there. I've had a lot of COVID venue cases and a lot of COVID vendor cases for a lot of big events. I have to be honest with you, Mr. Enriquez, I have never seen someone say, yeah, you can reschedule your event because I'm not going to give you your money back. But guess what? You're going to pay me 20% more because my prices went up. I have never had anybody say that. And if he doesn't like it, he can like it or lump it because he's not getting his deposit back. Talk to me.
No, ma'am. I gave him plenty of options. I said, through our conversations, first of all, I had let Allie and in the future, his future son-in-law know that I would do anything possible to work with them up until May 1st of 2021. No price increases.
Other than not charging 20%. Other than not increasing your price by 20%. That's the one thing you're not willing to do. What were you can I ask you a question? Did you raise every single contract after May by 20% or just his contract because he's the one with the dough in Newport, Rhode Island? Which is
this has nothing.
Because I'm kind of I don't know. This is a really big wedding. They're spending a lot of money. Did you raise every single wedding's prices?
Yes, I did.
Wow. Let's look at your contract. You have a clause.
It does. The payments are non-refundable, non-transferable.
Yeah, everybody's contract says that. That doesn't make you special. Everyone's contract says deposits are non-refundable. That doesn't end the discussion. When there's a pandemic and you can't perform what you got hired to perform, there's a discussion in court. So now let's see, because you can't do it. You can't. Oh, right. With 5 people? No.
I did not have a count because that is not what I get hired for. My contract states a date, a time, and a location.
And now here,
which I'm
look at the time.
And was through the whole process.
Yeah, except for that you couldn't do it because the venue where you would have done it said we need to cancel. And you know that it was a big wedding. Okay, and then it says here, we are not responsible for any circumstances out of our control, such as but not limited to transportation malfunction, equipment failure, natural disasters. That is the only thing you could be hanging your hat on. Now let us discuss this topic. Even if we weren't trying to figure out whose fault is COVID, which is no one's fault, even if we weren't going through the impossibility of performance discussion, you can't impose a new contract on the guy. So when you send him, oh, by the way, here's our deal now. You're paying me 20%. And he says, no, I'm not. Right there, you're breaching the contract. So there is no world where I am not going to order you to return this man's $1,600. You are suing for treble damages because you say it's a deceptive practice. I don't know if you can pick up, Mr. James. I don't like the defendant's position. But I am not willing to call it a deceptive practice, okay? Everybody's hurting during this. I'm sure his business is hurting. I'm sure he tried to make more money. It didn't work, and you're going to win. You're going to get exactly what you wanted to get, which is the return of the $1,600. On your counterclaim against him, Mr. Enriquez, in case it's not abundantly clear, I am not going to order him to pay you an additional $3,500 so that you get a full $5,000 for not only not performing, but also trying to shove down his throat a 20% increase, which is a change in the contract that he never accepted. So I'm ordering you to return the $1,600. I am ordering prejudgment statutory interest since the date of your phone call to him. And on your counterclaim, 0, and of course, your court costs. Good luck. I hope you have a lovely wedding, you and your daughter, Mr. James, and her future husband. And good luck to you, Mr. Enriquez.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Enriquez, you and the judge had quite a conversation about your contract. What'd you learn from this?
I learned some new contract information that I need to review, but I felt that I had given him a discount, starting off, and I showed him good favor and good faith in giving them an amazing service at an amazing value. And he strong-armed me and was very rude through emails and very demanding through the process, and only wanting his way and not being negotiable at all, which was unfair, I felt.
Well, he was the man paying the bill, so it was up to him. That was his choice. All right, Mr. James, what are you thinking now? How do you feel about the outcome of the case?
Well, I think justice was served in this case. I thought he was unethical and not honorable, and I'm glad that justice was served in this case.
The judge agreed with you. Thank you very much. Yes, congratulations, Mr. James. Okay.
Thank you.
Good for you. All right, Harvey, what are you thinking?
Doug, this is a really interesting case. We're going to see a lot of these cases post-COVID because in a situation like this, the defendant is saying, hey, look, there could have been a wedding with a smaller group of people. And the judge is saying, no, in the middle of COVID, if you can have 10 people when you were supposed to have 160, it doesn't cut it. So the plaintiff had every right to delay. These are issues that have never been litigated before and are going to be litigated a lot because of all of the problems associated with COVID.
My neighbors leave their kids' toys strewn all over their lawn, and the place looks like a daycare. I'm selling my house, and I want them to clean up their yard. Can I sue them for something like this because they refuse to listen to reason? Thanks.
Wow. No. You don't own their yard. You own your yard.
Right. I mean, if you let's say you're selling your house and the neighbor happens to have a dog who barks incessantly.
Yeah, that's
just and it has a really annoying. Sometimes a small dog has like an unbelievable bark.
Yeah, yappy dogs.
Right. They're super loud, and you want to show the house, and you have some people coming over. There's a realtor maybe showing your house or something, and they can't even talk to each other over the yapping. That's, what are you going to do? That's
where you live. That's the house you're selling. So, I mean, if I were you, I wouldn't sue. I would maybe talk to them and ask them very nicely, do you think that, you can, or is it okay if I tidy up and just put them all in one spot when I'm showing the house?
Yeah, they might appreciate that.
Right.